Welcome back, viewers. I'm going to be going back to Mathew straight away because we left on licensing. You mentioned something about licensing, being a landlord. There's a licensing requirement. Could you please carry on from there?
Yeah, so if you rent a property out, house of multiple occupation, which basically is three unrelated households living in one property, it's a requirement that you apply to your local council for a licence, and you have to have certain compliance in your property to be able to gain that licence. And in places like Gloucester now, as for instance, if your tenants are students, they've brought out a new student landlord licence as well. So we can see, you know, the Fit and Proper Person Act, which has been in Scotland for a long time. We can see that gradually being rolled out across England, which obviously, on some aspects, people would say is a very good thing because you've got to take care of your tenants. And if you don't, you could lose your licence, etc. And there's the other side of the coin, where it's an extra cost for a landlord, you know, to be licensed and to conform, which obviously is going to have a knock-on effect to increasing rental prices as well.
Okay. All right. How much money would someone need to get started in the property business?
Again, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. We can show people, and we have clients, delegates, who have bought property by putting in as little as £2,500 of their own money, and then obviously borrowing the rest to be able to buy the property. But you've got to have done your research to know that the property that you're buying with that level of borrowing has the yield to be able to support that debt. That's real key, and that's where the advice and the training comes in, as you were saying, with a good broker, making you understand what your monthly payments are actually going to be while you've taken on that level of debt. But if you've bought a property below market value, and you keep that property and you keep the mortgage up to date, then you have the ability to refinance and be able to remortgage with a company that charges less interest.
Okay. How about legislation? Is that a good thing that's coming in force?
As long as it doesn't come in too fast. That's the concern that I would say that I personally have at the moment, is that we're starting to be told this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And you've got to give us a chance to catch our breath, because if we've had to, as for instance on the 1st of October, they brought in that we've got to have smoke alarms on every floor of every property, plus a CO detector in any room of a solid fuel appliance. Lots of people haven't really understood that. So solid fuel is coal, wood, etc., which there aren't that many
houses doing that, really,
you know, it's more gas central heating, but certainly a smoke alarm should be a norm. It should be something that you have on every floor, if not every room. So
I agree with that, because it's safety, you know, it's somebody's life, you know, and why not? It doesn't cost that much money, and once it's done, you make sure you maintain it. Now, you could put it with the hardcore with the electric power mains, or you can put it battery. I would say to all the landlords to put it in the main, because sometimes when the battery goes, you forget to change it. You know.
And your tenants in there, so they might just take the battery out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's another concern.
I mean, it's complication. Life, plus it could damage the property. There's so much other complication comes for just not having that.
I was going to also ask a question. Legislation. I mean, is there any mortgage legislation coming out in about a year or two's time regarding buy-to-let mortgages?
Well, everything now is going more towards the affordability, whereas in the past you've been able to, there's been times when they'd lend anybody anything really, whereas now certainly residentially we've seen since last April the affordability of whether you, it's not just about what your turnover of income is per year, which used to be the multiple, it's now what you're left with after expenses. So you know, they'll take out, if you're a bit of a gambler, they'll take out that before working out what you actually earn each month, which obviously has reduced the amount of mortgage that you're able to take on, which obviously limits where you can buy, but they suggest that that's a much more sensible way of lending money, and that we could see that come into the buy-to-let market as well.
Okay, so there's some legislation coming in. What different types of rentals are there?
Well, we teach everything. I mean, just from simple family buy-to-lets. One of my favourites is renting to a corporate. So you rent the property to a corporate organisation, and that they pay your rent, and it's their employee that becomes the tenant, and it becomes their responsibility. We've touched on students, obviously house and multiple occupation, holiday lets. One of the growth areas that we're seeing is serviced apartments, because of shortage in hotel rooms, has pushed the cost of hotel rooms through the roof. So certainly in places like London, Manchester, Birmingham, lots of people are moving into the serviced apartment market, even serviced houses, where you take a house on and you get someone who comes in, changes the sheets, changes the towels, just like in a normal hotel. But it's actually an apartment or a house, which is a really big growth area.
That's a good area.
It's fantastic, yeah. I mean, there are companies springing up all over the place now doing that.
Okay, so what about the should people focus on equity growth, or should they focus on cash flow?
My own personal opinion is that you can't guarantee equity growth. People talk about hotspots as a for instance, so you buy here because the house prices are going up very, very quickly. The downside is you pay this for a house and your rent's only this. How the hell are you ever going to pay your mortgage? So the key is always to have cash flow first. If equity comes in the future, because don't forget you're tying yourself certainly to a 25-year mortgage term. So 25 years from now, hopefully property prices will have gone up, obviously rents will have gone up in that area. The real key is that the first 5 years, can you survive those first 5 or 6 years? Just like opening a restaurant. You know, every business should have a plan, and they should have enough money behind them to be able to survive the difficult times, which I would always say is at the beginning of any business.
I was surprised actually. I was looking at some of the properties that you are offering to your members that you've sourced. Some of them just need £7,000, £6,000 investment. Yeah. And then you can organise the rest of the
through finance.
Finance and everything. That was quite interesting actually. I'd never realised that you can actually get into the property business with, I know you said £2,500 earlier on, but even for £5,000, £6,000 to get into a property market.
Yeah, I mean we use sources. We don't source property ourselves as a company. So we use companies around the country who do that for a living. They do that on a day-by-day basis. And they bring properties to us, and in certain areas of the UK, you can still pick up a property for £20,000, £10,000. In fact, last year I could have got you a property in Newcastle where I have some property, and I could have got you one for £1,000.
Oh, thanks for saying that. You could have got me. So any more, you make sure.
Well, I'm buying them.
No, you said you could have got me. So, I'm looking forward to get a phone call from you.
It becomes the level of investment. Obviously, everybody, you know, we talk to our clients and we say, where do you want to invest? And everybody says London. Well, I want to invest in London. But obviously, if you've got to put a 25% deposit in, and you're buying a £500,000 house, that's a serious personal investment. Whereas if you're buying something perhaps in the northeast, the northwest, or in Scotland, where you're perhaps buying something for £30,000, then that 25% is obviously a lot less.
So, okay, you've answered my last question. I was going to actually ask you, where should you buy?
So you should buy where there's the rental demand. That should always be your key. The first thing that you should look for is rental demand. If there's high unemployment, then people are moving away from an area, and the likelihood is you're going to have a property that's going to stand empty for a period of time. The landlord's worst enemy is an empty property, because you've got to pay the mortgage and all the bills while that property's empty, and anything can happen while it's empty as well. So you could have a burst, you could get somebody break in, you could have a squatter, you know, there are all sorts of difficulties to an empty property. So do your research on rental demand first.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. We'll come back on to Mr. Ali now. What's your point of view about location?
I think Matthew is absolutely...
Commercially, I'm saying, because that's where...
I mean, location, you know, Matthew's absolutely right. Even buying a house, location is important, and even opening a business is very important, it's key, because that will make a break or a loss. I mean, if you open a restaurant or a bar or a nightclub or whatever, if you don't have it in the right location, it could just wipe out. And to sustain 5 years is a long time. So you have to do your homework.
Okay.
So you have to gradually build your business. You have to have enough funding to keep you going for 5 years. After that, it's win-win situation.
Okay, oh, it's interesting actually. I've done some research on some of your properties. I've been looking behind your back.
Right, okay.
On some of the properties. You've got some really beautiful properties, some mega commercial properties.
Well, one I converted an old fire station. Old fire station, it's in a landmark building in the heart of the city. It was empty for 40 years.
Wow.
I took this old building and converted it into a buffet restaurant, a nightclub downstairs, and a shisha lounge.
Is that in Coventry?
In Coventry. And it was, you know, the project was £3.5 million. Huge, massive project, you know, in the heart of the city. Now, Coventry is hugely growing on a student apartment. Just recently, about 5,000 student accommodations going to be built, and it's just got planning approved, and there's more going to happen as well.
So you got planning approved for student?
We're hoping to get some planning.
So you got commercial downstairs?
Yeah, commercial downstairs, first and second floor commercial, and then we're hoping to build up to 10 stories building. So the airspace is free, so you build on it, and there's enough students in Coventry, and Coventry University is the 10th popular university in the country, you know, and 4th in the country.
Interesting. So. Interesting. I mean, your success is on catering and commercial properties mainly. You have residentials as well. We've touched on that. What else is it you're doing in terms of helping other people to become successful?
Well, I mean, last year, this year in January, I did a program called MasterChef Promotions.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And basically we promote chefs across the UK, and as you know, there's a huge shortage of chefs in our business. I mean, Bangladeshi restaurant gives £4.2 billion turnover, huge economy to a British economy. But I mean, we're still a shortage of staff, and I know of my own, and a lot of my friends are struggling for staff, and they're closing restaurant down, you know, because they can't get right staff or they can't find skilled staff. So what I wanted to do, the chefs are already there, to give them a bit of a kudos and say, look, there's fame and name for yourself, and train other people. So that's why I did MasterChef Promotion. There was about 35 chefs entered my competition, and out of 35 chefs, there was 10 winners from 10 different regions. And all these chefs, they feel proud of themselves that they've been awarded, and now they can become a success of their own story, you know, and that they become a master chef, and they can train other chefs as well, other students, because I've been doing a lot of training in Coventry, Henley College, which is a hospitality college, and train a lot of staffs there. So there is a huge demand on that.
I can see something here. I mean, coming to success, obviously you are finding that training is very important, teaching
most important.
So learning about what you're getting into is very important. So you're doing the same, you're doing the same. So obviously there's something there that is telling everybody here, you know, you need to learn what you're going into. So like being property market, being restaurants, being a chef, everything, you need to have adequate training.
You need knowledge. Without knowledge, don't.
We're going to run out of time, so we've come to the end of the show. I really would like to carry on, to be honest.
No problem.
Matthew, thank you very much as well. Mr. Ali, thank you very much. Viewers, we have come to the end of the show for today. I'd like to thank Mathew and Mr. Ali for coming on to the show today, and of course the viewers, you've been watching. Thank you very much. I'd like to say a big thank you to the viewers that have been emailing us, and I hope we have been answering your questions. Also, I think today I have learned a few things about the property market. There's more to come in our next shows. I hope you have too. Remember viewers, please do email us if you have any further questions on businesstoday@ntveurope.co.uk, and you can, and I promise we will get your questions answered. I'd like to also request our viewers, if you know of anybody who you feel is a successful entrepreneur and would like to appear on the show, or you would like them to come and appear in the show, then please do get in touch with us and email us again. I repeated my email again because I have a few phone calls coming in asking for the email address. It's businesstoday@ntveurope.net. And don't forget, viewers, do visit our website, which is www.businesstodayShow.co.uk. And one little bit of thought for you to remember: we don't grow when things are easy, we grow when we face challenges. I think that's something we need to remember. So for now, viewers, I'm going to come to the end of the show, and that's all from me today. Please remember to visit our website, email us questions, and tune in on the 18th of October at 5 p.m. And for now, tomorrow's business is business today.